53, we're just looking to compare the slopes of milk and pop to one another and see when we get the same value. So for milk, I'm going from 1980 to 30 to 1986, 22. So if I took the slope of that, I would take 22 minus 30 over 1986 minus 1980, which would be negative 8 over 6, which is negative 4/3. So that implies each year I'm going down by 1 1/3 value. For pop, similar fashion, I'm going to take 34 minus 24 over 1986 minus 1980. Again, trying to find the slope, which is 10 over 6 or 5/3. Positive meaning I'm going up 1 2/3 each year. So if I take the slope of milk being down 1 1/3 each year, take the slope of pop going up 1 2/3 each year, I look and see that they have the same value in 1982, which would be our solution. For 54, I simply take 6cy and subtract it over to the left side. I then have a trinomial where I look to factor. I'm looking for factors of 16 that subtract to be 6. That is 8 and 2. I needed to combine to be a negative 6. So I would have a negative 8c plus 2c. Zero product property says I can set each of those equal to 0 and solve. By adding the 8c over, I'd have a positive 8c. And setting the other equal to 0, I subtract the 2c over to get negative 2c, which is letter F. Problem 55, I'm simply taking values and substituting them in for A, B, and C. In this case, I just called A2, B4, and C6. I then take those values. So for example, problem 1 says A star B. So I put 2 and 4 in there and get 6 over 2, which is 3. I then do the other direction, B star A, and put 4 plus 2 to get 6. 6 divided by 2 is also 3. So part 1 does check out to be okay. I then try the values for part 2 and notice that it does not give me the same value. 3 plus 6 over 2 does not equal 2 plus 5 over 2. And then for part 3, 0 times C equals 0, meaning I would put 0 in for A and 6 in for B, and 0 plus 6 over 2 does not equal 0, so part 3 does not work. So anytime you have a problem like this, it's sometimes nice to put values in, test them out, and see what works, and in this case, only one does. 56 starts by saying sine of x times cosine of x times tangent of x equals what? And we already talked about before the identity for tangent of x equaling sine over cosine, and with cosine over cosine canceling out to become 1, I'm left with sine times sine, giving us sine squared of x. 57, what is the solution set for all of those values? And again, I just picked and choose a couple of values. If I tried with x equals 1, I'd have the absolute value of negative 1 equals negative 1, which is not true. I then tried negative 1 to see if that would work, and the absolute value of the opposite of negative 1 does equal the opposite of negative 1, so that indeed worked. I then tried 0 in there and had the absolute value of opposite of 0 equals the opposite of 0, so that worked. So in other words, both negative 1 and negative values work, and so do 0. Therefore, all values x less than or equal to 0, letter A is our answer. And lastly, problem 58, it's asking you to find what value of B gives your equation two distinct real solutions. And I went ahead and tried 7 first, and when I put 7 in for B, I got 2x squared minus 7x plus 6 equals 0. And when I factored it, I got 2x minus 3 times x minus 2 equals 0, which would give me two distinct solutions. Now, if that wouldn't have factored, or I did not get only one distinct solution or none, then I would have had to try a different one. But because the 7 worked right away to give me two distinct solutions, that had to have been the answer.